I'm John Jackson, and I am the inventor of the Insider, which is a small device that I've patented, manufactured, and marketed all around the world. One of my goals today is to share with you how I did it, share my personal story, and the reason I'm sharing it with you is I'd like to take my 7 years worth of experience and present it to you within an hour with the hopes that if you ever have the dreams to market, manufacture, and take an idea and sell it around the world, that I can help you do it quicker. Because if I had a program, an audio or a video or a book that taught me how to do it in the real world 7 years ago, then I think I would have been able to do it several years faster. So I want to share my story with you with hopes that you'll be able to take something home with you that you'll be able to use with your own insider story. Now, first of all, did you ever have a good idea? Never pursue it, not know how to pursue it, and later see it on TV or see it in a store and sit there and go, my God, I had that idea. How does someone take a good idea, patent, manufacture, market it, and sell it around the world? Well, there's a very few people in this world that know how to do that, okay? And most of them are doing it. And what happens is the average guy or lady doesn't do it for several different reasons. Number one is they say, I can't. And if you say, I can't do something, you will not try. If you don't physically try, it becomes impossible. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy where you actually become defeated by default without ever living the reality of trying. And one of the things I want to present to you today is what I call the can't syndrome. And I'll get into more of that in a few moments. What I'd like to share with you today is that it doesn't matter if it's a toy or a tool or houseware or hardware or computerware or if it's a story or a screenplay. What I'm trying to tell you is it's a process. It's the same process that someone has to go through to patent, manufacture, market an idea, to bring it to the world. If you want to become rich with a simple idea or a complex idea, you still are going to have to go through the same process. And what I'm trying to bring you today is the process. What I'd like to do is share a personal story that happened to me 16 years ago. And it's a little scary, the story, and a little negative, but one of my philosophies is to take a negative situation and turn it into a positive. Well, what happened was I was driving down the street, I coughed, I had a pain in my chest, something came out, it scared me. And I was driving a freeway, and whatever came out, to make a long story short, it was horrible looking, and it looked like a dead tissue cell. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it looked like cancer. I thought, oh my God, because I'd smoked for 12 or 13 years already, and it ran in my family, and I thought, I've got cancer, and the pains were in there, and this stuff, and I coughed again, and it came out, and I almost killed myself because I almost drove off the freeway with the thought that I was dying. I was a very young man. I was 22 years old, I think. With that thought, because it ran in my family, I had to debate whether I'd go to a hospital or not go to a hospital, and I'd seen people go through chemotherapy and have problems, and I decided not to do that. So I lived with the thought of dying of cancer for actually several months before I finally went to a hospital. During that time, my life changed forever. And those are where most of my philosophies come from. And I hope I can share that with you where you don't have to have that experience yourself, but you can take my experience, bring it home with you, bring it inside you, experience that, and take the lessons I learned because of the experience and live a better life. Because that's what happened to me. Once I knew I was dying, I started doing things that I had never, ever dreamed of doing my whole life. Once you think you're going to die, everything that you say I can't do or you haven't done, now you know you better do it now, quick, because you don't know if you have 6 months or a year to live. And I started writing and studying and working out, and everything I did, it was kind of one of these where I said to myself, I can't do it. And then I said, well, why not? I'm just going to die anyhow, I might as well do it. And when someone else said, hey, you can't do that, what I did is I said, what are you going to do, kill me? You know, I mean, if I'm going to be dead. And when I realized that Nobody was out to stop me from doing anything in my whole life but me. Now, prior to that experience, I always thought that it was always someone else out there to stop me. There was always another reason. Oh, I can't do that because they won't let me. I'm not smart enough. I'm not rich enough. You know, I don't have the know-how. I don't have the education. I don't have the guts. I don't have the patience. I can't do it. And then I realized everything I tried to do, I can do, and there was no one out there to stop me. Now, 16 years later, I'm telling you right now, once I realized that, and I started practicing the can't syndrome, working with the reality stoppers, and the relationship with other people, knowing that no one's out there to stop me but me, I have accomplished everything in my life that I've ever wanted to do. And I started looking at life differently. After I went to the hospital, I found out I was going to live. I had an infection, and it was a long story short. They cured it. I'm okay. I'm still here to tell the story. But when I walked out of that hospital, life was different from now on. Now, I call that my first wake-up call. It was a wake-up call that was the biggest blessing that ever happened to me in my life. And I don't want to say that everybody should experience that, but I'm going to, because everybody should experience it. If you could just have the life scared out of you, no pun intended, one time or two times, because once you realize, if anybody in this room, if you think you're going to die in 6 months from now or 6 weeks from now, have you lived your dreams? Have you done everything in your life you wanted to do up to this point? And my question is, if you haven't, then now is the time to live your dreams. You see, I always thought my success and my fun and my future and living my dreams, I always thought that was, 5, 10, 20, 30 years from now. But when all of a sudden 20 or 30 years of your life gets taken away, and you realize you don't have that span, and you look at your life and you ask that question, did I love enough people? Okay, did I take care of my family enough? Was I successful enough? Did I go for the things that I really should have gone for if I woke up every morning and did what I wanted to do? Okay, essentially, you must live your dreams today because there may not be a tomorrow. This is on today's paper. I wake up this morning, here it is. I'm getting ready to do my seminar. A teen's promising life was snatched away. Now, I had a friend of mine that was 22 years old, and he got killed on a motorcycle, my buddy Ronnie. I still, every day, I look, I go, my God, Ronnie's not here. And he's been gone for 14 years, or how many years it is, that I got to live that he didn't. But if Ronnie would have known that he was going to die that day, I'm sure he would have paid a lot more attention to enjoying and appreciating every moment of his life if he knew it was going to be taken away. What I'm saying is we have to look at life like that, come back, and start enjoying and appreciating every moment of our lives every day, even throughout the struggle and the turmoil, okay? It's the frustration. Know that that's all part of the process, whether you're doing an invention, whether you're not doing, an invention. Meaning, one of the things I want to bring to you here today is a lot of people, if you see what I've gone through, and you know you're going to have to go through this, and to take a product, take a product or an invention to the market, there's a lot of struggle involved. And what I want to say is, when you walk from here, I want you to do two things. If it's something you always kind of wanted to do, but you were scared of doing, and once you see what you may have to go through to take it all the way to the end, you may go, oh my God, am I glad I didn't try that? Okay, because you may just go, my God, that is something that I know that I don't want to do that. I am happy with my nice, peaceful life. Or if you're not happy where you're at and you do have ideas, and it doesn't matter if it's an invention or I say a book or a toy or tool, it might be just to live in another state, to go back to school, to night school, to get a different job or to do some community service, whatever it is that would make you happier every day. What I ask you is to do that. Meaning, if you may see this and say, I don't want to do that, then if you don't want to do this kind of thing for the success, the big let's get rich and famous number, it's tough. It's a long haul. You may want to look back and go, oh, great. I don't want to do that. I'm going to be happy with what I'm doing. Okay? So what I'm saying is either way you go, ultimately, you need to be happy with your decision and to live it out, live that decision, live those moments to the fullest. So it seems like I'm going one way with it, but remember, as I say that, on the backside, I'm also saying if you don't go that way, then be happy with not doing it. Because that's just as much of a decision as long as it's a conscious decision and it's not one that's done by accident through the can't syndrome. But to change, you have to consciously make a decision, okay, to do something different than you're doing now, and you have to do it every day till you get to where you're going. And it sounds simplistic, but it's not, okay? If we don't do a little something every day, we don't become who we want to become. If you pretend to be a reader or a writer or an editor or a carpenter or a computer software technician or a mathematician or go to college, if you pretend long enough to be a carpenter, what happens is by default you learn enough that accidentally, within a few years, whatever it takes, you will become what you want. And I know it sounds simplistic to say that you have to kind of pretend. I'm telling you right now, you have to pretend, and you have to wing it, and you have to keep doing that until you become who you want to become. It's possible, but it's a conscious effort. And a lot of people are scared. Say, I'm a little worried about, they're afraid to change their jobs. I'm a little worried about, trying to do it. It becomes an adventure, okay? It's fascinating once you go into the unknown every day, even if it's done in little steps. You don't have to quit your job and try to jump into being a nuclear physicist overnight. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, you could read a little before you know it. You go to school, you take some courses, and it can happen. So I'm here to share several concepts, but I just want you to know that I want this to apply to all your lives and all the things that are in your lives, not just a guy that has a good idea that patents it, manufactures it, markets it, sells it around the world. Okay? Although I think you could take all these lessons and bring them back into your own worlds. So anyhow, like I said, I don't want to be morbid about it, but I'm going to keep bringing you back to a scene. I'm going to call this Murphy. Okay? Now, what happens if you look at this, some people say, well, you can't take all your money with you. You ever heard that saying? Well, that was true until I saw this guy here. I mean, this guy's got a mind. He took all his money and some. I think he's probably still owes finances on this tombstone. But all kidding aside, we're all going to end up taking a little ambulance ride, and we're going to have a little visit to the hospital, and then we're going to end up out here, and I'm going to call this with Murphy and the gang. And that's it. We don't know what's on the other side. So what I bring to you today is that the only thing that you really have in life, now whatever you did in the past, you've done. Learn from everything that you can. And the only thing you have, now you're going to end up right here. All of us are going to end up with Murphy and the gang. Okay? We're all going to end up with Murphy and the gang. Okay? Now, all we really have in life is the time between this moment that you're listening to this tape and the moment we end up with Murphy and the gang. Okay. And we don't know how much time that is. That's the big question. That's the big question. How much time do we have? But looking at that, again, I bring you back to today, okay, and tomorrow, and living your dreams today because there may not be a tomorrow. One of the other concepts that I came up with during that it was a couple of month period before I actually went to the hospital, and then I've expanded on that over the years, is the can't syndrome. And if you don't take anything else home with you today, please take this home, take this philosophy home, and use it in your lives and test it out in the real world. The way the can't syndrome works is if you have anything you want to do, and you say, I can't do it, okay? Let's say you want to ask for a raise at work. You want to get a raise. And this all happens in your subconscious mind, okay? Most of this we don't even realize is happening, and I think it's from the conditioning when we were kids. When we were kids, Our parents say, you can't do that, don't do that, you can't do that. You can't, you can't, you can't. What happens? We've heard that probably several 100,000 times by the time we're adults. And automatically we're going through life and this is being replayed, that, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. So that's one scenario, is that we're doing it to ourselves. The other scenario is there's people out there actually telling us we can't, and we'll talk about that later. So you have two things that we have to cover with the can't syndrome. But the philosophy is simple, okay, but it's profound. If you say you can't do something and you do not try, you do not physically go out and try, take the steps to do it, then your mind has told your body not to do it. You don't actually walk up to the boss and ask for a raise. And if you don't physically do it, then what happens? It flip-flops and becomes really, totally, and physically impossible for you now to live that reality, which means, in turn, you can't do it. You've lost by default. You did not live the reality of at least asking for the raise, okay? Asking for the new job, or I got a good idea. Oh, I can't patent it. I can't manufacture it. I can't get the money. I can't get the backing. I can't put the flyer together. I can't. Apostrophe T, a little dot and a T, can change your whole life. A little dot and a T has changed your whole life already. That little dot and that T has changed all our lives. Because when you take the word can, do something, and you try it, when you try it, you're living out the reality of it. Once you're living out the reality of it over here, when you're actually trying it, there is no success or failure, right or wrong. It's whether you live the reality of the experience, the journey, the adventure, which is trying. Once you try, you've already succeeded in living the reality. You've experienced the reality. There's no right or wrong, success or failure. It's just whether you do it or not. This is where the adventure, I believe, in life starts. When you say you can, you do try. If you do try, you do live something new. And what you're generally going to do is have lessons to be learned. Okay? If you do it right, then you usually don't have to repeat it. You won't, if you do it wrong, you take those lessons, and now you know what to do right to do it next time. And that's the stages of knowledge. That's the stages of learning. And I think where most people get stuck is they try something once or twice, they haven't figured it out up front, because how are you going to figure it out up front if you haven't done it? That's where everybody gets stuck. They don't do it because they don't have the experience or the knowledge. Well, that's why they don't have the experience and the knowledge, because they didn't do it, because they're afraid to fail at it. So what I'm saying is, if you try, you will at least get the lessons out of it. Most people stop. They get hurt. They get depressed. I've been there, okay? I had a failure on a project I'll tell you a little bit later about. I made a movie, spent $250,000. Lost it, okay? Lost everything I owned, everything I built for my whole life. I lost it. And I don't want to call that a failure, because that was an experience that I needed to learn that got me to where I am today. But it did take me 3 months to get out of bed. Okay, I was depressed. I've been there before. I know what it's like. What I'm saying is, you don't have to take 3 months. Get out of bed the next day, go back and keep trying. Take the lessons and always get out of bed and try harder. Okay? So without having to experience some of those, you've got to know that the progress of knowledge comes from actually experiencing your reality of it, and taking that knowledge, if you didn't get it right the first time, and this is the key, going back and trying again. That's where people miss. They don't go back and try again, even the second time. Now, most people don't try the first time. But if you try and you don't hit it the first time, hardly anybody goes back again. That's where you've got the knowledge now to go back and hit it. See? Because you've already bypassed 99% of the people that didn't even try it in the first place. If you have a good idea, what's the first thing you got to do to make it successful? Let me tell you what you got to do. And out of 1 million people, I am telling you, 99% of the people will not do the first thing they need to do to become successful with a good idea. The first thing you need to do to become successful with a good idea is write it down. It's so simple. All these philosophies are so simple. People do not write it down, which means it never comes out of their mind, and it never becomes reality. It never becomes something real in the real world. It never becomes tangible. The fact of writing something down takes your idea and turns it into a tangible product. You can actually hold it. Now people say, well, I can't. I don't have the money to patent something. I don't have the money to manufacture. I don't have the know-how. I don't have the knowledge. You don't need all that now. See, you're letting all these other things stop you from the first stage. What I'm saying is anything that you want to do in life, and don't say you can't write it down, because I know anybody in this room can do the 3 things you have to do to get to the first stage, the first step to become 1 in a million. That's write it down. Then what you do is you take an idea and you mail it to the patent office for the patent disclosure, which might cost you $10. And you've done the first step that 99% of the population will not do, and that's why only the big guys and the rich guys get bigger and richer, because they know the steps to do. Like I said, apostrophe T can change your life. And it's not just can and can't. If you could take the word can't and turn it into a can, what about should and shouldn't? What about could and couldn't, would and wouldn't? All those words, that apostrophe T is destroying, I'll tell you what, it's destroying America, the American dream. Apostrophe T is actually destroying the American dream. If we have people out here that don't know enough to go into our minds and to figure out what's happened, how we were brought up, I mean, we all were brought up pretty much the same way. I mean, it's nobody's fault, okay? But it's up to us to take the responsibility to use the right words, the positive words that bring you into a forward step, which is can, should, would, could, okay? But can't, shouldn't, couldn't, and wouldn't, okay, is where most of us are living. Now, obviously, reality stoppers are going to be one of the biggest things that you have to conquer and become aware of if you're going to be successful and become 1 in a million. Let me tell you more. I was going out to do the patent work, and I go up to a patent attorney. I had several patent attorneys along the way. I was shopping. I was asking a couple of attorneys, but one of them happened to say, I said, listen, you got a great idea there? This is kind of a great idea, but I had an idea like that. It was kind of like that, but it was something in the hardware industry, and I took it to Home Depot or Office Depot or, took it to the hardware stores, and I had it on the shelves. And he said, nobody bought it. He says, because people are too lazy. Now, I've already had several years into the ideas, and this is where I was just beginning my patent work. This guy says, you can't do that. You shouldn't do it. Can't, shouldn't, you won't. I couldn't, I didn't, so you won't. And I'll tell you right now, I don't know how to say this, but I made more money this year than that guy made in his whole life. Now, is that the guy I should listen to? Is that the guy you should listen to? But I don't know how I possibly ever went out and proceeded to do this with the authority telling me I can't and shouldn't do it. But that was only the first time, and I'm telling you, there's dozens and dozens, let's say hundreds and hundreds of times that I ran into what I call reality stoppers. We'll talk about a little of them now, but you all know them. You all have them in your lives. You have them at work. You have them at home. You got them your aunts and uncles. It could be a brother. It could be a sister. It could be your mother or father. It could be a husband or wife. Your children. It could be your friends. You know what's scary? It could be you. It could be me. See? And that's the bad news. The good news, if you happen to be one and you feel it, and you know you are, here's the good news. It's curable. Now, let me tell you what the cure is. Quit doing it. Let everybody live. Live and let live, and be happy and enjoy every moment of your life and leave other people alone. You know, it's curable. And it'll help the world if everybody just starts promoting happiness and goodness and give people encouragement. Don't stop them. Somebody has a good idea. Because when you walk into a reality stopper, if you have one that's too close into you in your life, and you can possibly do this, this is what you need to do if you want to live your dreams. Erase them. Make them go out of your life. They can go do whatever. They can, if they're close to you, if they're family, if they're friends, or what, not family. Family, you got to talk to them. But at least you erase the reality stopper part. Ask them to sit down, teach them. If they're just acquaintances, people at work, stay away from them. Change your course. Take a different course. Get another job if you got to, if it's full of them. Okay? But if all possible, carry your eraser. Okay? Remember that one. Today. Understand the process. here's one of my philosophies in life. You have to write your own story. Okay? You take your story, the John Jackson story, or everybody's story. You take your own story, you go, well, what would I like to see in life? You take this story and you just write it out, exactly what you'd like to see. And you should do this. But you take your story and you make sure it has a happy ending. Okay? And you write your own book, you write your own story, put down the pencil, wake up the next day, and go out and start living your story. Follow your outline, follow your book, follow your story, and then you can actually realize these dreams. But it'll never happen by accident. Okay? Dreams do not happen by accident. You make dreams happen. Actually making them tangible, realizing them in the real world. I think a lot of us keep dreams, which is just an illusion of a reality, because we don't know what the process is and the different things like the Kant syndrome and the reality stuff. We don't know physically what we have to do to take an idea or a dream and to turn it into something tangible and live our reality, only because we just haven't learned. They don't teach us that in high school or college. Our parents don't know it. Okay? And the people who have learned it, I guess a lot of them just don't have either the ability or the know-how or the want or the passion to get up and do what I'm doing and try to share it with other people to make people's lives better. Okay, so another thing we wanted to mention that we hadn't talked about, and I've kind of passed it in my seminar, is the no turning back zone. And that's what I call the stage when you've gone so far that you almost got to continue, okay, to be successful, because if you turn back now, you're in big trouble. Okay? Now, we've passed the no turning back zone, which I think everybody's going to have to go through. I don't care what the process is, toy or tool or computer software. Once you're out there, you hit the no turning back zone, what that does is gives you momentum to keep going. Okay? Because it's more advantageous for you now to continue the process and to finish it than it is to back out. Because all along the way, you always knew you could back out and save face. So we'll all hit the no turning back zone. Once you hit it, speed up and keep going. Which brings me to one of my philosophies, the turtle and the hare philosophy. Now, let me tell you what those are. This is my pet turtle. I bring him everywhere I go. And everybody remembers the turtle and hare story, right? And, you know, as I think about this, you know who wrote that story about the turtle and the hare? It was a turtle. You know? Because if the hare would have wrote it, the hare would have won. And I think you don't necessarily, the turtle doesn't always come in first. Okay? Now, what I do want to say, though, is you've got to have both in you. You've got to use both philosophies, the turtle and the hare. There's times when you need to be a turtle, and there's times when you need to be a hare. And you're going to find it, and you're going to have to feel it out along the way. There's times when you need to get up and go with everything you have, and don't slow down and don't turn back. And you're going to risk it all sometimes doing it. When you need to be a hare and go. But if you're spending too much money and there's not enough income coming in, and there's different reasons where you need to slow down and go into a holding pattern, it's time to be the turtle and slow down. I don't think it's one philosophy or the other. I don't think it's the hare philosophy that wins the race or the turtle. Okay? I am a turtle and a hare, and I've learned more and more in my life to know when to be a turtle and when to be a hare. Okay? And those are the things that you're going to have to figure out along the way as you're pursuing your dream. So think about this philosophy and remember, a lot of times the hare does make it because the turtle wrote the story. Now, can someone give me a hand here? Never mind. Here, I got my own hand here. Okay. So I got some notes here, and I need someone to hold them. Now, another one of my philosophies, and we may have touched on it a little bit, but don't ask a question if you don't want to hear no for an answer. Okay? A lot of times what we do is we ask people, what do you think about the idea? Or can I do this? Okay, do you think I can do this? Can I get away with the... People will always say, 90% of the time, people will say no if you ask them a question that they can say no to. I don't know why. And then the other people, which is us most of the time, that are asking the question, and somebody says, well, no, you can't do that. We listen to them. And then we don't do it. So once again, we're going backwards. We're on an escalator trying to walk up, but we're going backwards because we're asking no questions. If you ask a question that somebody can answer no to, and you're going to go with what they say, don't do it, because they will say no and you won't do it. So you're going to be going backwards. Ask yes questions or don't ask at all. Go out and live it. Move past the people. And then if there's consequences afterwards, which most of the time there's not negative consequences because you've just lived what you needed to live to learn the lesson to move to the next stage. So watch asking the no question. Now is we're going to have some fun. These are the ideas, the different ideas that people have that other people I'm sure said, you can't do that, you'll never bring it to the market, who's going to do it? Okay, and we're going to have a little bit of fun with this, but here's one of my favorites. Here, this one here, I just picked this up the other day in a store, and I'm sitting there blowing. I couldn't get the thing to whistle or do whatever it was, was supposed to do, right? And then some girl says, well, all you got to do is, okay? These people sold these. You go, who's going to buy that? Hell, I bought one. So, the guy's got one sale. Okay? Now, these are the clever little ideas, and I'm telling you, everybody that has any of these ideas I'm going to show you, each one of them has gone through the process. Okay? Here's one I came up with. This is actually years ago. One of my inventions I didn't do, and that's what we talked earlier about, going into a place and seeing something you thought of years ago, and you wonder how, what kind of people, who is it, what does it take, what did that guy have that took that to the market that I don't have? And I'm saying, generally speaking, they don't have anything on us. But back then, I had a good idea, and I had no idea how, there was no way I could figure out how to take this to the market. But here comes this thing called Sky Dancers. A little doll, and what the doll does is it goes like this and sends one of these things off into the sky. And there it is, right on TV, Sky Dancers. And here's my Sky Dancer here. What I'm telling you, if you got a good idea, take it, go for it. It's possible. You can live your own dream. You can do your own invention without sitting there at 5:45, in the morning and seeing Sky Dancers on TV. So I'll have that video next time I do this. While we're on that subject, here's a good one. This is toilet paper, okay, that has jokes on it. Now I'd like to know where to get, because I got nothing to do when I'm in there, right? But these guys are coming out, and these are new twists to old ideas, okay? Now this I like this, and I got to find out where to get some. But toilet paper with jokes on them, okay? I like this one. You remember this one? Oh yeah. Where'd they come up with this? Oops. Oh, am I in trouble now? How about neckties? Who was sitting around, 85 years ago and went, listen, I got a great idea. I got to get a good idea to make. Why don't we do, we'll get a piece of cloth, maybe shape it up a little bit, maybe make it different colors. And what we'll do is we'll tie it around our necks, right? And what we'll do is we'll go around and we'll tell everybody that they're cool. They're important, they're successful if they wear this piece of cloth. They tie a knot and wear this piece of cloth around their neck. Now somebody say, you got to be crazy. Here we are. We're all walking around with this little cloth around our neck. Huh? Tell me that wasn't a good marketing pitch. It's... If you have a need to hear a toilet flush, here's one I got for my birthday. I know, it's embarrassing. This is what people give me for my birthday, just to mess with me. I still don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it. But I know the guy that did this, they sell, I see them everywhere. They're selling, it's the, I don't know, the frustration machine or something. These grown men, the double bubble. Who do you think thought of the bubble, man? Good ideas live on forever. The bubble. I mean, who thought of the bubble? Huh. Another good idea. And another one. This is just a sign I like. Because a lot of people, I think, and we'll talk a little bit about change, getting back a little bit more serious, people are afraid to change. Just changing a little something that you're doing today, every day, and it doesn't have to be all day, even if it's 4 or 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day. If you work on that process, work on that change, you can become anybody and do anything you want. And I believe that with every fiber of my body, if you do a little bit every day and you're conscious of the process, whether it's an invention or just a dream or just your passion. And what I'm bringing you here today is live your dreams today, because you don't know when tomorrow is. You don't know if you're going to be here tomorrow. So live your dreams today. That's why we're here. This here is putting me to sleep. Actually, you know, this is just times clicking by every second. 1, 2, 1. That second's gone. That one's gone. That one's gone. That one's gone. They're going so darn quick. It's like, holy, they're going so quick. How do you get out in front of them where you can enjoy them before they go by so quick? This is all we have to enjoy and to appreciate, is the time that we're living right now, and we don't know how much is in front of us. And if we just we keep putting it off to the future, well, I'll be happy in the future, I'll be successful in the future, I'll live my dreams in the future, which most of us do. And what I'm saying is this is going by, then you get clipped, there never was a future. So what I'm bringing to you today is every time one of these seconds go by, appreciate it, enjoy it, live it, feel it. That's all we have. And most of the time, I'm telling you, and I know, I wrote the book, I'm still having problems with enjoying every moment as it goes by. I have a thing here I do where these are business cards. Okay, and I've had several, and most of you people probably have. I had one when I didn't have one as a carpenter, I had a hammer. I had one as an insurance salesman. Then I had one when I was working as an alarm salesman. Then I had one when I was the president of an alarm company. I had one when I was a movie producer. You know, I had a card. I had one as Insider Products. And my challenge today is I want to give you one of these cards, okay, business cards. And these business cards are different than any business card you've ever had in your life, okay? These are blank business cards, okay? And if you had one chance in your life, you could wake up tomorrow and you could be anything you wanted to be. If you could be anything you wanted to be. If you had that nice and printed on there, president of, or, you know, whatever, you know, what? Or working for a company. What company? Would it be, you know, in the film industry? Would it be in the, you know, the marketing industry, or the, you know, finance, or whatever it is? I mean, what, when you wake up in the morning, seriously, what would you really like to do? If you died today, say, oh, I didn't get to my dream. What would it be? And my challenge is today, I'm going to hand these out to you, is to, at the break, think about it for a minute and write on there exactly what you would like it to read if you had your dream. If you had your dream, and you don't have to do it, write it on this business card and take it home. We'll talk about it later. But take that home, stick it on your mirror, start thinking about the little steps you'd have to take every day, and that would it be possible for you later as life went on to walk into your dream? You know, where would it actually start coming true? Could you actually put your dream on that business card? Could you actually go to a printer one day? I challenge you. I'm going to give you one of these cards. I'm going to pass them out right now, okay? And I want you to write down what you would do if you got to live your dream. What would it be? I challenge you on that one. It's if all else fails and you don't know what to do next, wing it. Okay? Now, a lot of people say, well, no, you shouldn't wing it. No, yeah, you should. You need to wing it sometimes. Okay? Winging it gets you to the next step. It's your bridge to the next step. You don't want to wing it for the rest of your life like I do. Just a joke. You want to go ahead and wing it sometimes when you have to, because a lot of times that's where people get stuck. When you get stuck, wing it. Another one of my philosophies. It's carried me through a lot of times. Don't forget to smell the roses. Okay? Smell the roses. I mean, I don't know how to explain how important it is for you to smell the roses along the way. And it's going to be hard to smell them sometimes when you're going through some of the rough times, some of the turbulence. Smell the roses along the way. It's not the ending that counts. It's the journey. See? Because if you just wait to be happy when you get there and you're successful, and let's say it takes you 10 years, and you got successful, and you died the next day, you blew it. So the whole idea is to enjoy every moment of the journey, of the adventure. That's what it's about, to live the reality of your dream and to enjoy every moment of it along the way. Don't forget to smell the roses. One of the things I want to tell you today, and I want to bring you today, is you've got to be able to see and experience the downside, the failure. If you totally fail at what you're doing, what's the downside? If I totally fail at going up and saying hi to someone I want to ask out for a date, you don't do that because you don't want to fail. She says, no, you're embarrassed. Well, if you just realize that the downside, she says, no. Well, if you can accept the downside to anything, just accept the downside, well, hell, I can live with that. The day you know and you can accept the downside of anything you're doing is the day that you can go out, proudly walk up, and go for it. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. 99% of the time, you will not ever see the downside. Okay? The downside is in your mind. Once you go out and do it, all that comes now is lessons to learn from. So the downside is not really in the real world, it's in your mind. And if you can accept the downside and go, if the worst that happens is somebody says no, and that's all that really happens in the world, or I fail or whatever, go bankrupt. I mean, if you can accept the downside, then I suggest you can go into it and do it, okay, without being hurt, because you know that if that happens, got the downside, okay, let me go for the upside on a new one. So another one of my principles to success is to realize that dreams just don't come true. You have to make them come true. See, and that's why dreams come true for some people and they don't for others. For some people, dreams just stay dreams because they just think they're going to come true and they don't. But for others, they realize that they want to take these dreams and make them realities. To do that, you actually have to go out in the real world and do the things you have to do to make them come true. And they can come true if you take the steps that lead you one step at a time into your dream. So dreams don't just come true, you have to make them come true. Okay. Planting a seed. I was on the Intercoastal in Fort Lauderdale, and this coconut floated up, and it had a little teeny green thing coming out of it. And we grabbed this coconut, and the long story is I took it home and I planted it in my front yard. Okay? Now I'm going to take this analogy that you need to plant the seed. Okay? And that's where a lot of people don't even get that far to plant the seed. And all I've been talking about today is planting seeds and cultivating the seed after you plant it. A lot of people come up with a good idea, they write it down, they go a little further, they take it, maybe even do a patent search, maybe even get a patent. That's it. They don't know what to do. You think you're rich once you get a patent. You don't. You have 8 pieces of paper with type on it. You have to keep going to the next logical step. And what happens is once you plant a seed, if you don't water it and fertilize it, it's going to die. See, you have to think that you want a palm tree. You don't want to just plant the seed and go, well, I did it. I planted a seed. Now I go get rich. No, you planted a seed, and it's going to die if you don't have the passion and the willpower to go out there and cultivate and water that seed and take care of it. Now, In this sample, we took the thing home and we planted it in the front yard. It started growing. It actually started growing. I was fascinated that it grew. But if you look at it, it has green sprouts and it has dead brown ones. See, I wasn't cultivating. I wasn't paying attention to it. So it was growing, but it was dying at the same time. Your idea can grow and die at the same time if you just plant it and you don't cultivate it and you get on with life in 2 years or 2 months or 12, goes by and you're not out there watering and cultivating your idea, it's going to start to die, and you can feel it when it's starting to die. Because you're going to start seeing the browns, dead things. It's going to start dying. You've got to wake up if that happens to you and keep taking the logical step. Even if you're still working your full-time job or working part-time, don't let it die. You've gone through all the energy to do this. Keep doing the next logical step. Water it, fertilize it, and pay attention to it. Even talk to your palm tree once in a while. Now it's still growing. But you still got some green, some new stuff coming out of it, but you're letting the rest of it die. You're not watering it and doing the next logical step that you need to do to become successful. If you want to become rich with an idea, then you have to do the next logical step over and over and over again till you succeed. But if you don't, it's going to start to die, and you're going to start to have the brown leaves coming in. Now, this tree was starting to die, and I realized it. Then I went out, and I started watering it, paying a little attention to it, fertilizing it, and that's what you're going to have to do to your dream. Whatever your dream is, it doesn't matter. You're going to have to water it, pay attention to it, fertilize it, and you're going to have to keep going to the next logical step, which would be, maybe, dig it up a little bit and give it some new plant food. Whatever you have to do, you've got to go to the next step. And if you do, and you make it that far, then you'll end up with a real palm tree. That seed that you planted, those seeds, but if you ignore them, they'll die. And if you see it dying, you can still save it. Okay? My project almost died several times, but I came back and started watering and fertilizing, and I went and got a job and earned more money wherever I could. And I took more money, and I kept coming back, and I started fertilizing it, and I started coming back and watering it, paying attention to it, and it flourished. And it turned into a palm tree that now gives off coconuts. Every time someone puts an insider in anywhere in the world, I get money for it. So, now we're at the stage of the seminar. The ending to that story, of the insider story, was, yes, I eventually did. I traveled around the country. I got up every morning, even in the hard times. There was hard times. Okay? Kept going. Persistency. We talked about the commitment. Persistency, what you have to do to actually take the product out and develop it, market it around the world. Okay. The ending to that story was, yes, I finally had one of the biggest companies in the world. And it's funny, after 4 years of marketing it to the whole industry, one day I decided to send a package, everything I'd done, all the steps, everything I'd put together that I had to do for 4 years, put it all together in a big package. I FedExed it to the president of the biggest company in the world. Okay? Got a phone call 2 days later. The rest is history. How does it feel to be successful? It feels good. And people, what do you do all day long once you're successful? Anything you want. Stand up in front of people and have fun for free.